As governor, I have spoken many times with local and federal law enforcement leadership to hear what their officers and our communities face every single day. I've heard stories of tragic overdoses, violence in our communities, and cities like Nogales suffering from strained resources. As I continued to have these conversations, two things became very clear. One, the people on the ground are doing the very best they can with what they've got. And two, this crisis is happening in real time and requires real action. When I launched Task Force SAFE, it wasn't about making headlines. I saw an opportunity for the state to step in, to mobilize our resources to make a tangible difference in partnership with federal agencies. And today, I'm proud to share the progress this team has made. Task Force SAFE has supported the seizure of more than 6 million fentanyl pills and over 1,400 pounds of meth, cocaine, fentanyl powder, and heroin. Every fentanyl pill taken off the street, every ounce of heroin seized, every gram of cocaine stopped is a serious blow to the cartels and drug traffickers doing Arizonans harm. They represent saved lives, families protected, and communities strengthened. And this is what real impact looks like. But our commitment goes beyond Task Force SAFE. This work builds on the more than 170 service members embedded in law enforcement agencies across the state as part of the National Guard's counter-drug program. It expands our efforts to ports of entry and increases our statewide operational capacity by over 20%. These efforts are just part of a comprehensive multi-million-dollar strategic effort by my administration to crack down on drug trafficking, support law enforcement, and deliver treatment to Arizonans affected by the fentanyl crisis. In addition to launching Task Force SAFE, we established a border coordination office in the Arizona Department of Homeland Security to bolster cooperation among local, state, tribal, and federal law enforcement partners. I signed legislation to crack down on high-volume fentanyl traffickers. We delivered over $84 million in funding to law enforcement across the border. We're supporting veterans' substance abuse treatment programs. We're equipping more first responders with life-saving overdose reversal medication. And we're looking forward to further strengthen federal and state cooperation through increased intelligence sharing between DPS and CBP. Today's progress should serve as a reminder that we will not rest. The people of Arizona and this nation want more than words. They want results. They want politicians to treat the border as more than a convenient place for a photo op. They want leaders who will take action. Protecting our border is not a Republican or Democratic issue. It is an Arizona and an American issue. And that's why I will work with anyone to secure our border. Just as I worked with this current administration to launch Task Force SAFE, I will work with the next one to deliver border security. That means more resources for the men and women standing with me today, upgraded equipment, additional personnel, the technology they need to keep Arizona and America safe. And I will be relentless in advocating for those resources from Congress and the White House. What I won't do is tolerate attacks on Arizona families. I will not allow everyday Arizonans to suffer from misguided policies that will only divert resources from the important work happening here and across our border. Task Force SAFE has shown us that with clear goals and the right support, we can make a difference. As the governor of a border state, I have seen what we can accomplish through partnership, and I'm proud to lead a state that doesn't shy away from difficult challenges. And I'm committed to working across the aisle and across every level of government to find solutions that last. We are seeing the results of that partnership today, and this is just the beginning of our success. The people in uniform with us here today can tell you the fight against cartels and bad actors transcends any one person or political party. We must continue working together to stand strong against them. As I've always done, I will continue to put politics aside to deliver for Arizonans. To the cartels and bad actors seeking to harm our communities, my message is clear. Arizona stands united against you. My administration, our National Guardsmen, Arizona State Troopers, local law enforcement, Customs and Border Protection officers, and Border Patrol agencies are all united in putting you out of business, and today we are a step closer to doing that. I want to thank CBP Acting Commissioner Miller, Major General Muhlenbeck, Arizona Department of Homeland Security Director O'Connor, and Arizona Department of Public Safety Director Glover for demonstrating outstanding leadership and partnership. And I also want to thank Nogales Mayor Maldonado for being here today. And of course, thank you to all of our men and women in uniform. And now I'm happy to turn it over to CBP Acting Commissioner Miller. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Governor. Here in Arizona and across the country, CBP is on the front line of the fight against fentanyl. And that's why we are here today in Nogales. More than half of the fentanyl we are seizing comes in through this part of the state. Our 65,000 men and women are working every day to keep these drugs out of our country and our communities. With more than 200 Americans dying every day, the scope of this problem is too large and the stakes are too high for us to do this work alone. That's why I'm so proud of the partnerships we have built, especially the ones right here in Arizona. The support of the Arizona National Guard is providing CBP through Task Force SAFE is making a difference. They are a critical force multiplier for CBP's operations here at the Mariposa Port of Entry and down the road at DeConcini. It's an operational advantage. It's helping us identify and seize that fentanyl that transnational criminal organizations are trying to flood our streets with. But it's also a personnel plus-up. It's ensuring our CBP personnel can focus on their critical law enforcement missions, while maintaining that lawful trade and travel that keeps our nation's economy so strong is moving. I want to thank the governor and all of the partners here today for their continued support. We are also working closely with the state and local law enforcement across Arizona to share information intelligence at the speed of mission through our Southern Border Intelligence Center, Arizona's Regional Intelligence Center, placement of CBPOs and BPAs, Border Patrol agents, on local task forces. As an example, we have personnel operating in the Cochise County Border Operations Center that was just spoke about. To build joint operations to dismantle these networks, for the past year, as part of Operation Apollo, we surged resources and conducted coordinated operations along the I-10 corridor where contraband flows across the country. Not just narcotics coming into the country, but also weapons and illicit funds going southbound to fuel cartel violence. And to go after transnational criminal organizations that we know are operating on both sides of the border. We know what's happening on the south side of the border, and we need to marry that up with the expertise that the state and local law enforcement provide. That's why we're working to embed state personnel in our Regional Intelligence Center to facilitate greater collaboration to illuminate these nefarious networks. We're taking these partnerships as one model for how we need to work with state and local law enforcement agencies all along the southwest border and across the country. That's because CBP is uniquely positioned to lead the federal government fight against fentanyl, the federal government's fight against fentanyl. We're in the right places, at our land border, in between the ports, in international airports, and at our maritime borders. We have the right capabilities, from interdiction to intelligence. We are getting the right tools to our personnel, from non-intrusive inspection technology to artificial intelligence, to field labs and canines that can sniff out fentanyl precursors. We are improving intelligence sharing to address the networks and logistic routes that bring fentanyl deeper into the U.S. And we're thinking about the border as the last line of defense, not the first. We are working with partners throughout the hemisphere to disrupt transnational criminal organization activity. And importantly, we are working with international partners to deliver consequences. Just last week, our partners in Mexico arrested El Pelon, a Chapitos affiliated Sinaloa Plaza boss. We are having an impact in this fight. We are disrupting the fentanyl supply chains. We are stopping the precursors and production equipment coming into and transiting the U.S. And we are doubling down on our efforts to find and seize fentanyl at our ports of entry. In the last 2 years, we've seized more than 50,000 pounds of fentanyl, enough to produce more than 2 billion lethal doses. All of this work matters. What happens at the border impacts the whole country, and our enhanced enforcement efforts are making communities safer. Every single day I receive reports from the field about illicit drug seizures, and the stats are impressive. But here's the most important metric in our fight against fentanyl. Opioid-related overdose deaths decreased last year. This is an important development, but our efforts must continue. One death is too many. First of all, you've heard me say this before, the men and women of CBP need more tools and resources to fuel our fight. But an all of society problem demands a comprehensive all of society solution. We need a new coalition, a collection of voices that transcend politics and policy to be part of the collective solution and save lives. We can harness our collective power to make inroads with impacted communities, establishing trust, demonstrating impact from local police departments, school boards, and public health authorities, state and municipal governments, the pharmaceutical industry, victims advocacy groups, and on. Anybody that will partner with us, will partner with them. To academic and research institutions and businesses from mom and pop to the Fortune 500. That work can start today. Together, we can and will work together to save lives. Thank you. I would like to now introduce Major General Carrie Muhlenbeck.
Thanks, good morning. You know, as I sit here and I was listening to Commissioner Miller and also to Governor Hobbs, I'm really reminded that the National Guard's partnerships with CBP are not something new. We've actually, since 1989, been partnering with law enforcement agencies across the state and at the border to get after drug interdiction. We do that primarily through our counter-drug task force, and it's that task force where our service members serve right alongside the local, state, and the federal law enforcement officers. As you know, there's specific statutory authority for the National Guard to engage in counter-drug operations, and that same authority also provides funding to the states. But the amount of funding that Arizona receives is based on our annual state counter-drug plan that Governor Hobbs submits each year. The state plan really does two things. First of all, it sets forth our strategy in Arizona to get after supporting these law enforcement agencies. Secondly is the paycheck. We set forth the exact dollar amount that we'll need to do that support. So for the last 2 fiscal years under Governor Hobbs, she's requested $26 million and $24 million, 24 previously and 26 this most recent year. The federal monies that came into the state, both under the presidential budget and as well with our congressional ads, numbered a little over $16 million for both of those years. So if my math is correct, what we need for effective support came up short. But enter Governor Hobbs and the SAFE initiative. Under that initiative, Governor Hobbs allocated $3 million to the Arizona National Guard, specifically to our counter-drug task force to enhance our capabilities. With that money, we've activated 40 state active duty members. We've assigned them to Task Force SAFE, and their primary mission is to surge down to the ports of entry to support CBP in drug interdiction. And I think if you look at that and how we've been partnering, when we add state assets like Task Force SAFE to a federally funded entity, our counter-drug task force, we've really enhanced our capacity to partner. We've enhanced our capacity to protect our communities. And I think selfishly our National Guardsmen will tell you they have a vested interest in this. First and foremost, they're public servants. But secondarily, they're part of these communities. They live here, they work here, they serve here, and now they're serving as force multipliers down at the border to assist in drug interdiction. I have to tell you, I can't be any prouder of our service members, but I'm also very proud of the partnerships that we've made and that we continue to establish as we head into the future. Thanks. I will now be followed by Dr. Kim O'Connor. She is the Director of Arizona's Department of Homeland Security.
Good morning, and thank you to Governor Hobbs for her dedicated leadership for bringing us together today to announce our next steps in combating the deadly fentanyl epidemic through the SAFE initiative. We know that to address the challenge, we must work together with our federal, state, local, and tribal partners to leverage the resources at all levels to protect Arizonans. As a result, we are increasing our coordination with CBP partners to build a common operating picture of the threats our communities face and ensure that we are able to effectively respond to and mitigate the evolving dangers of transnational criminal organizations. However, knowing the threat is only half of the battle. As the director of the Arizona Department of Homeland Security, I have the honor of overseeing an excellent grants team that works diligently to secure competitive federal funding for Arizona. These funds help make it possible for our partners in local, state, tribal, law enforcement to have the resources they need to help in keeping our communities safe. Operation Stone Garden draws down federal funding to support critical operations staff time and equipment so that our local, state, and tribal law enforcement officers can work directly with CBP to enhance the safety and the security at Arizona's southern border. This year's allocation complemented the Governor's SAFE initiative, and it directed nearly $15 million to law enforcement partners in Arizona. With the quick and thorough deployment of these funds, we keep our state troopers, our county sheriff's deputies, and our municipal police officers safer and more prepared to take on the fight against cartels and transnational criminal organizations. Governor Hobbs has been clear. Our focus is to create an Arizona that is safer for everyone. We are proud to support the effective enforcement efforts that strengthen our border, stop dangerous drugs, and save the lives not only of Arizonans, but the people across America. We are thankful for our partners and the teamwork that you see here today, and we look forward to more lives being saved by our combined efforts. I would now like to turn to the Director of the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Colonel Jeff Glover.
Good morning. First, I want to start by thanking Governor Hobbs and all our partners that are gathered here today. It's not news that fentanyl possesses a severe threat to families across our state and our country. What is news is, and great news, is the emphasis and support Governor Hobbs is putting into law enforcement's efforts to stop this dangerous poison from entering our communities through her SAFE initiative. Our state troopers have worked hard, hand in hand with both Guardsmen, CBP, to increase public safety. Task Force SAFE strengthens support for our state troopers while the Guardsmen are working to intercept fentanyl at the ports of entry. Our state troopers are actively patrolling the highways across Arizona's southern border and at every corner of the state. This year alone, we've seized over 2,357 pounds of fentanyl. In fact, our state troopers and detectives in just 3 months, from August through October, seized approximately 6,498 pounds of illicit drugs, including significant quantities of meth, heroin, and cocaine, alongside 837 pounds of fentanyl. And that's just our work. We know that our great partners here that you see today, and also county sheriffs and municipal police working across the border, are doing excellent work. Under the leadership of Governor Hobbs through her SAFE initiative, we've expanded the local border support provided to our state partners in helping out these agencies to more than $17 million. This is on top of the other partnerships, such as the work of our cross-jurisdictional teams to combat the organized crime that's impacting our Arizona community. I'm incredibly proud of the extraordinary work of the amazing men and women of the Arizona Department of Public Safety and our part in this whole of state effort to keep Arizona safe. That collaboration extends to the federal government as well. We look forward to sharing intelligence between our ACTIC and CBP, which we ensure will have the tools needed to be more effective in effectively targeting and disrupting organized crime and keep our communities safe, as outlined in our letter of intent that is signed today. The SAFE initiative maximizes the state's investment in effective law enforcement strategies to combat the ever-evolving threat of criminal enterprises. I look forward to continuing to work with all of our partners here today and with the support of Governor Hobbs to create an Arizona that is safe for everyone and where we can end the scourge of fentanyl-related deaths. I'd like to now welcome Mayor Maldonado from the City of Nogales.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank Governor Hobbs for looking after our community. Our community has always been impacted, as known as, the pathway to these terrible drugs. We, we work together and collaborate with all these federal and state agencies that support our community and our state and our country. Everything that Governor Hobbs did when she saw the opportunity to do this task force SAFE was to prevent any of these pills to go into any neighborhood, not just in Nogales, but Arizona and in the country. Building this great partnership with all these state and federal agencies makes our country and our state safe. That's what we want, because every pill, every pound that we take off the streets is a safer life for all our kids and relatives and, in general, human beings in our country. Nogales is a beautiful city. It represents the gateway to Arizona. It represents the gateway to the country. Our big thing is being secured, and with all these agencies, I think we're going to do the great job. The coordination of all these agencies will make us better, will make us stronger, and will make our country safer. So with that said, pass it back to Governor Hobbs, and thank you for everything you do for us. Thank you.
Just yell, Dennis.
Administration, but you said you drew a line, you're not going to help anybody attack families. Could you be more specific? That sounds like you're willing to work with the Trump administration, but you're not going to help them if he wants to carry out that mass deportation program that he campaigned on. Is that correct?
I will not tolerate misguided policies that don't actually help with the critical work that's happening here, that you're seeing here today, that actually keeps our communities safe and secure. I will not tolerate terrorizing communities or threatening Arizonans. Well, I think it's hard to be specific when what we're presented with is a whole slew of threats, but don't necessarily know the details of what those will look like. We will absolutely respond appropriately when we know what those threats look like and how we can effectively respond. And I think that can be said for any number of suggestions that the incoming president has made about what he will or won't do as president. Again, I will work with the Trump administration to continue efforts on border security like we talked about here today. And in terms of things that we don't have the details on, I'm not going to comment further.
Hey. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. I'm Elisa Resnick with KJZZ. How many National Guardsmen have been deployed since June, and what, if anything, will change?
Sure. So as part of Task Force SAFE, there are 40 Guards members here. And that is, they're a part of, as was mentioned earlier, 170 Guardsmen across the state involved with the counter-drug program. This particular mission was funded through the fiscal year 2025 budget. So as you know, that goes until June 30th of 25. So we'll continue those efforts. And as far as Prop 314, as you know, that's on hold while the courts decide what happens with Texas's law. And some proponents of that initiative have actually said maybe we don't need to enforce it now. So, which is interesting. We will follow the law of the state of Arizona. We spoke with them extensively before the election, knowing that this was, an issue that would come up. And most of them were opposed to the initiative for the very reasons that it is an unfunded mandate. Their sheriff's office are underfunded. They they have vacancies, and they have a job already, and this just compounds that and will make it harder for them to respond to other law enforcement needs in their communities. So we'll continue to work with them as we have to keep their communities safe, and we'll see what happens when and if it fully goes into effect. Well, again, border security was a core issue of the Trump campaign, and I look forward to having conversations with the incoming president about Arizona's needs, including border security and the work we've done here to build these partnerships that are actually producing results, and how we can continue those partnerships under his administration. Well, I think those same families are worried about threats from the Trump administration as well. And as I've continued to say, I will not tolerate actions that harm Arizonans, that harm our communities, and quite honestly, divert resources from providing real security at our border. Look, I'm the governor of Arizona. I'm not the governor of other states, and I'm focused on the needs of Arizonans. And I'm not going to jump into lawsuits that don't exist yet against actions that haven't been taken yet. And that's how I'll continue to focus on the job in front of me, that I will work with the administration when it benefits Arizonans. And if I need to stand up to them because their actions will harm Arizonans, I will do that. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we worked really hard to build the partnerships that we have with our local and state agencies and the federal agencies. And as you heard here today, those partnerships are producing results. What we're doing here is a model for other border states and communities and at other ports of entry. And certainly we'll talk to the incoming administration about the success we've had, about our hopes to continue the success we've had. And, you know, there was a bipartisan bill that was negotiated between the White House and members of Congress that would have done exactly what the president-elect is saying in terms of increasing personnel and pay. And I supported that. And I think that that effort to negotiate that bill was a direct result of the advocacy that my administration and many others have made to address the issues at the border. So I'm hopeful that the incoming president actually works to get that done. It was a bill that was supported by men and women in uniform, by bipartisan leaders across Arizona and across the country. And it was unfortunately derailed for political reasons, and we really need to take the politics out of this issue. Yeah. I will stand up to protect Arizonans from harm by the federal government, from anyone. I'm not going to comment on hypotheticals. We don't know what a mass deportation plan will look like, what resources it will involve. I'm here to protect Arizonans, and I will do that. I'm not going to talk about specifics about a plan. I don't know what the specifics are. Well, the bill that I was able to sign this year, it was a bipartisan bill that made it through the legislature that cracks down on fentanyl dealers, is a start. We're using the tools we have legislatively to crack down, but actions like you're seeing here, this task force and having the resources to interdict these drugs here at the border before they make it into our communities is a critical piece of that. I think that a lot of Arizonans are enticed into these criminal organizations because of the potential gain, and if we can stop that here, we end that enticement. I can't speak to the details of that specific mission, but what I can say is that when I came into office, I knew that I couldn't keep saying the border is a federal issue, that we needed to listen to the men and women in uniform here, the leadership of our federal partners, about what they needed from the state to be more effective, how we could partner, and that being able to deploy the Guard is a tool we have, but I wanted it to be a tool that's useful and helpful and supportive, and not just about a political announcement or photo op. And that's what we've done here. I listened, I've responded, we've worked to build partnerships, and you see an effective result of that.
I want to take a step away about what's coming into the country and what's going out of the country. We know, I think the intel's pretty clear that money and guns go south, fueling some of the violence over there. We recently saw a lawsuit filed by Mexico accusing several Arizona gun stores of allegedly contributing to that, but allegations have been unfounded at this point. But what can you do as governor to try and circumvent and prevent what's going southbound?
The screening here goes both ways, and I don't know if you want to get into more detail about that.
Thank you. It's a great question. So when we talk about going after the transnational criminal organizations, the same people that are bringing fentanyl into the country are the same people that are responsible for taking the weapons and money southbound. So first of all, we talked a little bit about working with DPS and our state and local partners to flatten out the information sharing. So as they identify these transnational criminal organizations that are working with us, and we get to look for the weapons going southbound, it also includes working with Mexico. So as Mexico sees more weapons, they can share that information with us through things like E-Trace, owned by ATF. We have joined state and local task forces, but federal task forces ran by ATF as well, that bring all the investigative agencies together, including Customs and Border Protection. So as that information comes in, we're able to act on it going southbound. Last year, we got additional funds for outbound enforcement and non-intrusive inspection technology like you see coming inbound that we're going to place on the outbound side as well. So there's a whole host of things we're doing, but most importantly, we're going to flatten out the information sharing, identify the networks, and go after the perpetrators at a time and place of our choosing.
We are listening and responding to the needs on the ground that Arizona can provide resources and support for. Right now, the guardsmen who are here are providing a critical mission of support that allows the agents to do the other things that they do, like intercepting smugglers. We'll continue to listen, we'll continue to partner, and provide the support that we can provide. Well, that's a really State Department issue that, yes, there are concerns about. But what I will say, our relationship with Mexico is critical. They're Arizona's largest trading partner. They're the U.S.'s largest trading partner. And in the coming days, I'll be having conversations with the governor of Sonora about how we can continue to work together to have a strong economy across the region. And we will have conversations with the incoming administration about efforts that we think will harm that really critical relationship for both Arizona and the country.
Thank you. We've seen since the presidential proclamation specific to immigration or migration, we've seen the numbers drop 55% since June 4th. That has continued, but we are continuing to work with our Mexican partners, our partners downrange, to monitor their intelligence to ensure that we're prepared should we see a surge. But no, we are not seeing any change.
So we launched, well, first of all, I don't know the number of border visits I've made since I became governor. As the governor of Arizona, this region is critical, border security is critical, and it's been a top priority from day one. We've taken a lot of action. I outlined some of them in my remarks. $84 million to local law enforcement to improve their technology and communication capacity, ability to interdict smugglers and drugs. This operation, we launched Operation Secure last year, of which Task Force Safe is a part of. And that was part of our fiscal year 25 budget, so starting in July. This is not a new announcement. This is an update of the progress we've made and showing the success that we can have when we partner together to tackle these tough issues. None of that's going to change regardless of who's in the White House. We're going to continue our efforts here.
No, I think I just answered that question. It's really stayed pretty even since June. The numbers have been down a little bit over the last month, but we've seen a 55% decrease since the presidential proclamation. We work very closely with our Mexican partners to ensure we know what's coming towards us, but as of right now, it's been pretty flat. So one of the main missions that Customs and Border Protection has is facilitating legitimate trade, $4 to $5 trillion worth a year. So we have a number of programs where we work with our trade partners. Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, CTPAT, is one of those programs, and that program enables us to share information with our trusted partners and our trusted partners to share information with us. But we also work with the Chamber of Commerce to see what legitimate supply chains look like, look for IPR, counterfeit medication and the like, the things that kill Americans and we need to keep out of our country. So we have a long-standing relationship with our trade partners, the public sector, and we will continue that. But what we're really doing right now is focusing that more on the fentanyl issue, because remember, we have pill presses, dyes, molds, precursors coming in through our airports of entry. So working with the carriers, our partners, we can see what legitimate supply chains look like, and we can target those shipments that are using those supply chains, and we can keep the precursors off the street so it never gets to Mexico to actually make the fentanyl. We can keep the pill presses, dyes, molds out of our communities that are being used to press those pills. So those are the types of things we're talking about.